Facebook Live family and friends, Elliot Andre, the head therapist with Connected Roots, is here with you today. I'm wearing my Hawaiian beads as I'm imagining myself being out in the sun in Colorado. Today we have a fantastic interview planned with David Veach. He's an LPC, he's a LAC, he's a founder of a fantastic therapy practice called Living Life Fully Counseling. David, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, man. It's good to see your face.
Yeah.
Welcome. So, David, if you could, please let us know who you are, what you do, and what you specialize in, and kind of separate yourself from the pack. That'd be great to start.
Yeah, so I'm David Veach. My company is Living Life Fully Counseling. I see adults with depression, anxiety, alcohol, and drug abuse issues. And I have 23 years of recovery myself, and some clients like that their therapist has recovery, has been there, has been through the muck and the mire of things. And let's see, office is in DTC, and I take most major insurances through SonderMind.
Awesome. So SonderMind, for all you people out there who might not know what that is a therapy organization that has a bunch of insurances they take. It's under one roof. Super easy to get involved in, and it's great that they take literally any and all insurances that you'd ever think out there. So if you're a potential client watching, definitely take advantage of this information, because we know at this point mental health is a need, and seeking a therapist who has and accepts major insurances is to your benefit, people. So please reach out to David at the end of this podcast. Well, anyhow, David, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. If you could, let people know what it's been like the last 23 years in terms of your own story in recovery and how you bring that into your therapy practice. I think that'd be a really good place to start for our viewers out there.
Yeah, so I started drinking and drugging at age 15, and then 21, the age you can drink, I quit drinking, so I kind of did it backwards. But yeah, I was just out of control with my drinking and just going to the bar and drinking and driving. I ended up getting drunk driving, and so I was on probation, and I was still trying to beat the system by drinking, even though I had to do breathalyzer every morning. I thought, well, it takes an hour to get a beer out of your system, so at midnight I could have a six-pack, and by 6 a.m. it'll be out of my system, but that's not true, especially if you're drinking like an iced beer. So anyways, I met with my probation officer, and she could smell it on my breath. She said, "Did you drive here?" I said, "No." And she said, "Well, if you did, that's driving while impaired on top of your drunk driving." And what helped me is she had an intern in her office. And after the intern left, she said, I didn't want to freak out my intern, but if you ever pull that stuff on me again, I'll throw you in jail so fast I'll make your head spin. And that's when I quit drinking. That's when I said, wow, if you can't stop drinking the day before you see a probation officer, you are powerless and you do not have control. So that's when I quit drinking. I hit AA probably for the first year, and it was probably the best year of my life, but they say it's kind of like a struggle, because you go through the muck and the mire, and it's almost like the muck changes different colors and it's different heights, but you're sludging through it, trying to get your brain cleared out. But yeah, I think that the AA was great because it was community, it was a connection. I felt like other people understood me, they thought like me, they acted like me. I'm like, finally, people that understand me, that get me. Sometimes people that don't drink or drug, they don't understand people that are alcoholics or addicts, because it doesn't make any logical sense at all. There's no logical sense to it. So yeah, just one day at a time, just slowly got to where I got. And some things that have helped me, I think, is to, if I tell myself I can't drink, then I want to rebel and say, oh yeah, watch, I'll go to the store and get a 40 ounce. Mm-hmm. If I tell myself I can drink, but here's all the consequences to it. I'll lose my job, I'll lose my license, I'll lose where I'm staying eventually. It'll just totally destroy my life. So life can still be hard. It's not like all roses, but it's possible with help from others. They say in AA, you don't have to do it by yourself. Um, uh, Now, let me think of this. What did they say? They said no one can do it for you, but you don't have to do it alone. So
Fair.
yeah, so that's good.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. I think our viewers out there really understand, you know, from your story and your experience, like what it really feels like. I felt it in a sense of how hard that can be. So, how do you bring that in your story and your road to recovery and your 23 years of sobriety into your practice? Like, what does that look like when you work with clients?
Sometimes I'll go ahead and I'll share with them some of my experiences in that. I might not necessarily say that I have 23 years of recovery, but if it comes up or someone else is looking to get help, I can share my story of what I went through, the help that I got. And I think a lot of people, they see like, oh, I know what AA is. I saw on a movie or television show. It's not like that at all. Like you'll go in there and the people should be very loving and caring and they should always welcome you back no matter what you've done. You could have robbed a bank and they could say, you know what, that's okay, brother. Keep coming back. We love you. We don't judge you. We just want you to stay sober. Um, so yeah, but yeah, sometimes I will tell them that I do have 23 years of recovery, and I think that can help some people to know. I also struggle with depression and anxiety, so that can be hard being in recovery, and you still have to deal with the mental health too. Um, so that can be tough, but for some people, it helps to see a psychiatrist or a therapist. A lot of therapists see therapists themselves. I think
Or
that's a good thing.
totally. I mean, what do you feel like has been the most beneficial thing about kind of your story and your history in a sense of bringing that to clients and working with them, other than letting them know that you also struggle? What other ways have you found that or you've encouraged clients to really seek the help or find different outlets and really focus on their own recovery?
Yeah, I'll tell. Sometimes I'll say, you can't fix your brain with the brain that you have. And I'll tell them your best thinking got you here. Your best thinking on your best day got you here to counseling, here to where your wife is saying, "Hey, if you don't straighten up, it's the end of us. We're getting a divorce. You're going to have to move out." So I just encourage them try to be open to some other suggestions of how to think differently, how to act differently, how to speak differently, because whatever they're trying isn't working. It might work some of the time, but then other times it doesn't seem to be helping. And I mean, there is no real class for communication skills, how to get through arguments and those types of things. So, but yeah, and I just try to be a listening ear. A lot of times, I find if I listen, um, people can figure out stuff on their own because if they had a friend or a family member, they would interrupt them or they'd trump their story and say, "Oh, that's nothing. Check this out. I got this and this and this," and they kind of invalidate what someone's feeling or thinking. But just to be listened to have that kind of interaction where people will be like, "Oh my gosh, that's why I do that. Oh, I figured it out without me even saying anything." So listening's a big part. It can be really helpful, and pauses can be helpful too, even as uncomfortable as they are. Pausing to let the person think about what's being said, think about what they want to say. Um, but yeah, I usually let the client just talk more than I do because I don't come in as the expert.
Hmm.
Um, so it's person centered. It's about the client. I feel like the client is 24/7 in their own head. So they're the expert. They know themselves. So I ask them what they want to work on, and they're more likely to choose a goal and stick with it if they choose it than if I tell them, do these 3 goals by next session. They're not going to, no one likes to listen to that. So.
Hmm. Yeah, so I think what I'm hearing from you is that even in your own journey of whatever this has looked like for you, I think someone listening to you was really helpful,
Right.
and taking that on and really been able to put that into your practice to be like a listening ear and a guide in other people's roads to sobriety or just struggles with anxiety and depression. So again, I think all that we're talking about today really I think happens to a lot of people in some ways, and
Mm.
and for you to be an advocate to talk about it is really powerful and vulnerable. So I appreciate that. One thing I think I heard you really kind of hitting to was this idea of maybe assertive communication, boundaries, things along the lines of that I think we can bring into, as a therapist myself, into a lot of the conversations I have with people. But I think even more so for what I'm hearing in terms of maybe some of the clients you work with who do struggle with substance abuse and things like that. That's a really big key to their success. How do you think that has been effective to you or your clients in that regard?
Let's see. Yeah, definitely. I think it's good to put up boundaries and whatnot. And like sometimes family will want to get too involved and that kind of thing. But yeah, having a listening ear. Um, and I find even if someone starts crying, the quieter I am, or the more pain someone is going through, the more quiet I am, the longer I'm quiet. That's the
Mm-hmm.
most helpful in that situation instead of like tapping them on the shoulder because that'll take them out of their feeling, out of the pain. And I want the people to experience that because that's maybe been bottled up a long time. And I think too, sometimes with alcohol, being a depressant, sometimes they say, "Well, I'm depressed," and I said, "Well, you're pouring depressant down your throat." So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes just knowing that, and then uh, how alcohol can be cunning, baffling, and powerful, so that people can't do it on their own. So it's good for them to get help and to reach out and get help in other forms. And there's plenty of things out there now. There's we got let's see. There's like sober bars out there. There's sober curious that's going on right now. Safe and safe and sober, sober and fun entertainment. There's different entertainment things, just different people where people think, what am I going to do if I get sober? It's like there's plenty of events and things going on, ways you can volunteer and help out and have a family of sober people that want to get to know you, that love you, and that you can love back. And I think, and they say the opposite of addiction is connection, and
Totally.
that's the thing. It's hard to recover on our own just by ourselves because we need that connection.
Yeah, talk and expand about more this idea of connection with your clients, yourself, because I would agree. I mean, I've worked with enough people who have substance abuse struggles that need somebody, that just need the community, they need the camaraderie, they need the essence of knowing that someone's going to be there for them no matter what.
Yeah,
So
I think
to that,
because a
yeah.
lot of times people will be like, "Oh man, but all my friends drink and all my friends drug. What would life be like if I didn't have any friends?" And I know for me, whenever I quit drinking and drugging, and I was reaching out to my friends and just said, "Hey, let's do something sober." They're like, "Oh, that's boring. We don't want to do that. Like, we'll drink and drug with you, but other than that, we're not going to hang out." Then you kind of find out who your real friends are.
Yeah.
But then it's important to have that replacement of friends. You just don't recover in a vacuum by getting rid of all your friends and being alone. It's reconnecting with people. Um, yeah, I think that's like some of the biggest things that make people drink is like that loneliness,
Mm-hmm.
being alone, not connecting, and then the alcohol or drug can become their friend. It's interesting. It's almost like it can become their best friend, um, and they feel like they're losing their best friend, so they'll hang on to it. They'll come up with every excuse to use it, to not
Absolutely.
get help, to not get treatment. This is like I've known this for this many years, and it's always been here for me. But
Right.
eventually, it can be destructive.
Yeah. I mean, there's a big thought out there that connection is the number one key to sobriety for a lot of people, and I've seen it myself. I come from a long family history with people with drug and alcohol abuse. My wife as well. I mean, we've seen it, and I think the biggest point and key that you're hitting on is that people find these ways to just kind of put aside some of their struggles and just say, this is what's going to get me through. It's almost as used as this idea of a coping mechanism, which we know is part of it, but just to really be in that place to numb things and feel like this is like my only ally in some ways. And I think a lot of the times we think about trauma and involved in drug and alcohol abuse or anything like that. So I don't know what your experience has been or clients that you worked with in sense of trauma, but I've noticed with my own family and my wife's family as well. Like there's been a lot of really difficult things that have happened to get people to this place of using drugs and alcohol. So I don't know if you'd like to share with clients or yourself of what maybe trauma has played in your road to recovery or what that's looked like.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. As far as trauma, it's painful, and so people try to numb that trauma out with alcohol or drugs. They try to self-medicate to get rid of that, so they can stuff it down because it's painful to deal with. But the thing is, that eventually it will come out. It has to come out some way, and sometimes that can come out in anger or rage or fighting. Um, and I always encourage clients, let that come out in a way that's not hurting you or hurting other people. If you have to cry it out, if you have to go out in the woods and scream and yell, whatever you have to do, that you're not hurting yourself or hurting others, because it'll come up. And then when we get sober, all the feelings come back. All the feelings we've been stuffing down and pushing down come back, good and bad. So you have to be ready for that, like feelings of like fear and rejection and those type of things come up. And so they're all there and you have to deal with them. So it's great to have that community and connection, because there's no way all that, say you repress stuff for 20 years and it bubbles up to the surface and wants to be dealt with. You can't do that on your own. That's way too much.
Yeah. So in a sense of leaning into some of those things and finding that support that we think and know that we need when dealing with something like this that can be traumatic, terribly sad, hurtful, all of the above. If you could, and again, if you feel comfortable with disclosing this, what was that like for that come to moment for you when you went to that parole officer's office and she was like, I could arrest you as soon as you could spin your head. Like, what was that moment that you were like, oh shit? Like, what did that look like?
I felt the fear of God for sure, because it rattled me. It really rattled me. And I was like, a lot of people I knew were in jail for the third or fourth time for drunk driving. It's not like it just stops. It'll keep continuing. And I'm like, when I went to jail, I was like, dude, I never want to come back here again. I never want to come back here again. It's interesting because like they fed us and like I didn't want to use their bathroom because everyone could watch you. It's just a horrible thing. So when my mom came, I like ran out into the lobby and ran to the bathroom. Like, I don't have time. I got to use a public bathroom where no one can watch. But that's horrible.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, I'm like, this is enough. And I know it wasn't me. I'm like, this isn't really who I am or who I'm supposed to be. And I mean, that's what I thought. I thought, man, I'm always going to drink, and then I'll just pay my bills and work, and whatever money's left, I'll just drink alcohol. And I never saw myself ever changing. But yeah, that scared me when the probation officer had said that to me, because I needed someone to shake me up, because I was still playing games with it. But that goes back to the alcohol is baffling, cunning, powerful, right? So I'm like, I couldn't stop. I couldn't quit. I couldn't stop. And so, yeah, it takes control. It's fun at first. It can be fun, but then it just turns on you. It's like I had to have it to even walk straight. I had to drink enough to be able to walk straight, because my whole equilibrium, everything was messed up. And I was going to a liquor store in Colorado. I was probably 19, and I went in there, and they'd always sell to me, and I'd buy for my brother, and they get grocery carts full of stuff, but they never would hang out. They're like, all right, thanks, bye. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
No connection for you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. So, but yeah, even now I've got people in, church and just people in the program that I talk to. I still hit some meetings and stuff, because it's good to remember, like, where I came from. And then sometimes people will be like, just saying how they came out of a bender, and I'm like, dang, dude, that could be me. If I drink one drink, that could be me. So it's important and humbling to remember where I came from, and just try to listen and help out others as well.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's a big part of why you got into the therapy world.
Yeah, definitely. Yep, I always wanted to see how I took a psychology class in high school, and I was pretty interested in the mind. I want to understand, like, how does my mind work? Why do I do the things I do? Why do I say the things that I say? And then getting help myself, and then wanting to help others too.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the one and biggest reason why I got into the therapeutic realm was also wanting and needing that connection to
Yeah,
like developing those skills of coping and empathy and all those things on my own that I never really was able to access in certain ways, just in the way that I kind of led my life. So to me, I think a biggest part about getting into the work that I do as well is just about finding ways to guide and learn myself, with people in the mix of all that. You know, it's really been a humbling and wonderful experience in being in business out in Colorado, for sure, especially in a state that people really want to work on themselves,
yeah.
which Chicago, personally, again, that's my general opinion, but it's such a different world, and it's really cool to be a part of it. Yeah, what would you say? What would you say you've really taken most in your years of practice in terms of just like learning about yourself and where you are now?
Um, well, I don't know. That's a good question. That's the $1 million question.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know. As far as myself, I mean, I think I just look at ways to help people and ways to just encourage people. Um, and as for me, I still don't have it all figured out. I'm not perfect. I could guess, oh, I bet you this is going on. I bet you this is going on. And usually 99% of the time I'm wrong until I ask and then they tell me. I'm like, oh, okay, that's what's going on. I don't have it figured out in my head, no matter how many years of therapy
sure.
I have. So try to stay humble and
Yeah,
um, not be the expert. Um,
I appreciate that. I think it's human.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And all the ups and downs of working in agencies and all that kind of thing, and then starting out on my own, and
heck yeah.
um, just try to keep pushing along, even with this everything going on for
Yeah,
sure. So yeah,
glad we're doing it. I mean, being here and expressing about you and your business and what you do. I mean, it's really nice to get in front of people and let people know that you're available, you know, and ready and down to hang out and just able to give people that need, that therapeutic need that I think that sometimes we forget that's available. So yeah, really appreciate that and your time today. Seriously, thank you so much.
thank
Um,
you.
yeah, absolutely. Before we head out, David, please just let us know how we can get in contact with you. Any other resources you'd like to share? Down in the video here, we have your website. But if there's anything else you wanted to put out there, I think that'd be really helpful for our viewers out there.
Let me see. Yeah, phone number 970-718-5578. Yeah, I'm on Psychology Today if you want to look at that profile as well, David Veach. And there's also other groups if people aren't into like higher power or God. There's Smart Recovery, there's SOS, there's a Phoenix Gym, which is in operation right now because of coronavirus, but you just have to be sober for 2 days and then you're able to work out there and do different stuff. And that's a way to connect to people that are all sober at that gym. So.
Nice. Awesome, man. Really appreciate you coming on to the show. Head Therapist is out. Catch y'all later. Thanks, David.
Thanks so
Appreciate
much.
it. Yep. Take it easy.
Bye now.